It's officially October, which means spooky season is back once again. The air's turning crisp, leaves are changing, and the Halloween decorations are creeping back onto lawns and front porches. And for me, that always means revisiting one of my all-time childhood favorites, Casper, from 1995. Every Halloween season, this movie was a must-watch. It wasn't terrifying or gory like other Halloween movies. It was warm, emotional, and full of spirit, literally. Watching Casper felt like Halloween comfort food. A little bit spooky, a little bit silly, but a whole lot of heart. And believe it or not, Casper is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. Yeah, 30 years. I feel old even saying that. I was a kid when I first saw it, and now I'm in my early 40s looking back at just how much time has flown by. It's wild to think this movie that once felt so new is now old enough to be a nostalgia time capsule, but that's what makes it special. It's a perfect reflection of 90s Halloween magic. So let's dive deep into this beloved supernatural gem. Today we're talking about the unique facts, hidden details, and behind-the-scenes stories that made Casper one of the most memorable and emotional ghost movies ever made.
Casper, the friendly ghost, the friendliest ghost you know. Both grown-ups fight over him with fright, the children all love him so.
Before Casper ever graced the big screen, he was already a pop culture icon. The friendly ghost actually dates back to the late 1930s, when Seymour Rhett and Joe Oriolo came up with the idea for a ghost who didn't want to scare people. Paramount's famous studios later turned him into a series of theatrical shorts in the 1940s, and by the 1950s, Casper was everywhere. Comic books, toys, and even his own TV show. Fast forward to the 1990s, and Universal Pictures saw an opportunity. Technology was advancing, audiences were embracing digital effects thanks to movies like Jurassic Park, and nostalgia for classic characters was at an all-time high. Bringing Casper back, this time as a digital ghost in a live-action world, was ambitious. But it worked, because it respected the heart of the original character, while giving him new life for a generation raised on VHS tapes and Saturday morning cartoons. Something most people don't realize is Steven Spielberg was a major creative force behind Casper. Through his company, Amblin Entertainment, he oversaw production and brought in industrial light and magic, the same team responsible for the groundbreaking CGI in Jurassic Park to animate the ghost. Spielberg reportedly helped shape the movie's tone, wanting it to be emotional but never too dark. He even suggested Christina Ricci for the role of Cat Harvey after being impressed by her in The Addams Family. And when the film ran behind schedule, Spielberg personally directed a few reshoots to make sure it hit the emotional beats he wanted. In many ways, Casper feels like a cousin to Spielberg's E.T., a story about loneliness, friendship, and connection, told through the eyes of a child who sees the good in something everyone else fears. Every great ghost story needs a great setting, and WHIPSTAFF Manor is one of the best haunted houses ever put on screen. That massive, twisting Gothic mansion is practically a character in itself. But here's a spooky secret. It doesn't actually exist. The production team built WHIPSTAFF's interiors entirely from scratch on massive sound stages, creating exaggerated architecture that blended horror and fantasy. The ceilings were high, the walls curved in strange ways, and the staircases seemed to go on forever, all designed to make the ghost's movements feel more cartoonishly alive. The exterior shots used miniature models and CGI to make the mansion appear even more otherworldly. Even the lighting in WHIPSTAFF was carefully designed. Cinematographer Dean Cundey, who also worked on Back to the Future and Jurassic Park, used blues and silvers to create that moonlit Halloween feeling that's instantly recognizable. Imagine being 15 years old and having to act opposite of Air. That was Christina Ricci's experience for most of the film. Casper and his uncles weren't there. Just tennis balls, puppeteers, or empty space to represent where the ghosts would eventually be. Ricci delivered a grounded, heartfelt performance despite the technical challenges. And Bill Pullman, who played her father, Dr. James Harvey, had an equally tough job. He had to act out physical comedy scenes with invisible ghosts, like the famous drunken sequence where he's spinning around with Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso. Pullman improvised much of that moment, later joking that it was like doing slapstick with your imagination. Their chemistry, despite half the cast being digital, gave the film its emotional anchor. Casper was more than just a cute ghost. He was a technological breakthrough. Industrial Light and Magic created a brand new animation system to handle Casper's semi-transparent body, realistic light reflections, and detailed facial expressions. Each frame of Casper took up to 90 minutes to render. That's 90 minutes for one frame of film. To make his expressions believable, ILM studied recordings of children's eyes and smiles to map onto his ghostly form. The result was stunning. Casper wasn't just a digital effect, he was a character who felt real. It's hard to overstate how groundbreaking this was in 1995. Without Casper, we might not have had the same CGI standards that led to characters like Dobby in Harry Potter or Gollum in Lord of the Rings. One of the most fun parts of Casper is the celebrity cameo sequence when Dr. Harvey gets possessed by the ghostly trio. In a few quick morphs, his face turns into Clint Eastwood, Rodney Dangerfield, Mel Gibson, and, most memorably, the Crypt Keeper. The biggest cameo had to be Dan Aykroyd in full Ghostbusters gear saying, "Who you gonna call?" Someone else was pure genius. It connected Casper to pop culture history and gave the movie a self-aware sense of humor that made it even more fun for adults watching with their kids. Those cameos weren't easy, though. Each transformation required heavy digital morphing, one of the earliest uses of that technique since Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Ask anyone who grew up in the 90s and they'll tell you the scene where Casper becomes human for a moment is unforgettable. When he turns into Devon SAWA at the Halloween party, dances with Kat and whispers, "Can I keep you?" That's pure 90s cinematic magic. It's short, but it's one of the most emotional payoffs in a family film. Devon SAWA later became a teen heartthrob thanks to that 1 minute of screen time. The scene's bittersweet tone, Casper finally getting to live only to fade away again, was powerful and left a lasting impression on a generation. Here's something a lot of people don't know. Casper was originally written as a darker movie. The first drafts leaned more toward horror comedy, making the uncles meaner and Casper's backstory more tragic. Some of those ideas made it into the final cut, especially in the emotional sequence where Kat discovers Casper's past. Casper's death by pneumonia and his eternal loneliness are surprisingly heavy themes for what's marketed as a kid's movie. But that's part of why it resonates. Beneath the jokes and CGI, it's a story about grief, unfinished business, and learning to move on. That emotional honesty gave the movie staying power. It wasn't afraid to say that ghosts, and by extension loss, can be sad, even if they're wrapped in laughter. It's funny to think about now, but Casper didn't even come out in October. It was released in May 1995 as a summer blockbuster, and yet it immediately became a Halloween staple thanks to its spooky aesthetic and heartwarming story. The film grossed nearly $287 million worldwide, making it one of Universal's biggest hits that year. Critics were mixed, but audiences, especially kids, fell in love with it. Within a year, it was a VHS must-have, and cable networks made it a seasonal tradition. Its success led to spin-offs like Casper: A Spirited Beginning and Casper Meets Wendy, the latter starring a young Hilary Duff. While fun in their own right, they never quite captured the magic and sincerity of the 1995 original. After the success of the 1995 movie, Casper didn't just stop at the big screen. He quickly found a second life in animation with the Casper cartoon on Fox Kids. The show carried over the charm of the movie while expanding Casper's adventures beyond WHIPSTAFF Manor. Unlike the film, the series leaned more into comedy and fantastical ghost stories, giving kids a chance to see Casper in a variety of fun, spooky situations each week. The cartoon also introduced a cast of new characters, including some friendly human allies and occasional villains, which made the world feel bigger and more adventurous. While the ghostly trio still appeared, the tone was lighter than the movie, allowing younger audiences to enjoy Casper's antics without the emotional weight of the film. It also featured moral lessons sprinkled into the stories, keeping the spirit of Casper's friendly, caring personality alive. What's interesting is that the animation style borrowed some visual cues from the 1995 film, blending digital effects with classic cartoon charm. For many kids growing up in the late 90s, the Fox Kids series became a weekly Halloween treat, proof that Casper's legacy extended well beyond the theater and into Saturday morning television. Now that Casper is celebrating its 30th anniversary, it's impossible not to feel a mix of nostalgia and amazement. I was a kid when it first came out, And now being in my early 40s, it's wild to realize 3 decades have passed since Casper floated across the screen for the first time. That sense of time flying makes revisiting the movie even more special. It's a reminder of the Halloween magic of my childhood. The movie has aged incredibly well, both in terms of its emotional storytelling and its groundbreaking CGI. Watching it now, it's clear why it has endured as a Halloween classic. Casper isn't just a ghost. He's a symbol of childhood wonder, the bittersweet moments of growing up, and the joy of discovering movies that combine laughter, heart, and a touch of spookiness. Even today, seeing the 30-year mark hit makes me reflect on how many kids and adults have connected with Casper over the years. From VHS to TV reruns to the Fox Kids cartoon, Casper has remained a friendly, comforting presence for generations. And as Halloween approaches, revisiting WHIPSTAFF Manor is a perfect way to celebrate both the film and the lasting nostalgia it brings. So this October, if you're looking for the perfect movie to kick off your Halloween marathon, Casper deserves a spot near the top. Turn off the lights, grab some candy, and revisit WHIPSTAFF Manor. Let the friendly ghost remind you of those cozy, magical nights of the 90s when Halloween was pure excitement. If you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, hit that like button, subscribe for more nostalgic deep dives, and drop a comment sharing your favorite moment from Casper. Was it the dance scene? The Ghostbusters cameo? Or maybe just Casper whispering, "Can I keep you?" A huge shout out and heartfelt thank you to our amazing Throwback Tier members, Peace by Chaos, Thicula, iCritic, Jeremy Bowen, Mr. Blanks, and Sonic and Leighton Fan. Your support means the world, and you're helping keep the nostalgia alive in a big way. I also want to thank all the other awesome members who support the channel. Whether you're new or you've been rocking with us from the beginning, I appreciate every single one of you. Here's to 30 years of one of the friendliest ghosts in movie history. And here's to all of us who still get chills every October when that music starts playing. Happy spooky season, everyone, and as always, keep the nostalgia alive.